Thank you. And I now recognize Mr. Westerman.
Thank you, Madam Chair, and I'd also like to commend the panel today for your very informative testimony and also for the zeal that you have in working in cybersecurity. And I believe it's, potentially the war of the future that we're fighting here in cybersecurity. And I'm from Arkansas, and I've just for personal reasons, Mr. Clinton, do you have any Arkansas ties? Just out of curiosity.
No, sir. And some of the people who use the name Clinton down there actually weren't Clintons, they were Blaines.
Okay. Well, I've also been listening to the testimony and the answers to the questions. I've got a 20-year-old college student, and I had a fascinating conversation over Christmas, and you guys were talking about how millennials are always connected, and he was telling me that that's a huge consideration where you take a job now, what the connectivity speed is, that wasn't something we considered when I was getting out of college, but it played a big key in where they would go to work and where they would eventually live. So I know we're in this connected world now. To follow up on Mr. Swalwell's question, he was talking about being on offense in the prosecution. But from the technology side, is it all defensive, or are there proactive ways to combat hackers before they make their attacks?
Yeah, I mean, I think there's a set of approaches that are not defensive and are much more proactive that are in place today and will continue to expand. So one example is around things like honeypots. So if the bad guys are attacking you and you give them a place that looks like a legitimate part of your infrastructure that they go to and spend all their time and energy attacking, you protect your real assets and you're able to study what they're doing at the same time. There's also things like shock absorbers, where the harder a attacker hits you with traffic, the more you slow them down and do things like tar pitting. So there's a whole set, I think, of defensive and more proactive defensive measures that aren't offensive, don't go directly after the attackers, that are in place today and are very successful within the enterprise.
Congressman, if I may, I think that's of course true, and there are some others, and I think I want to build off this point into having a better understanding of the multifaceted nature of the cyber problem. So, for example, one of the technological mechanisms that we use in the private sector is we understand that the bad guys are going to probably get in. The determined attacker will pierce your system. But actually we have more control over the bad guys when they're inside the network than when they're outside the network. And if you're dealing with a cyber crime situation, you're basically dealing with theft, which means they have to get in the network, they have to find the data, and they have to get back out. So if we block the outbound traffic rather than trying to block the inbound traffic, we can actually solve the cyber breach problem. They get to have a good look at our data, but they don't get to use it at all. And from a criminal perspective, that's a problem. But if you're looking at this from a national security perspective, the attacker may be interested in disruption or destruction. They don't have to get back outside their network. They don't care about getting outside your network. So we need to understand that we are dealing with multiple different cyber problems, some of which are national security, defense of critical infrastructure, making sure the grid doesn't go down, et cetera. And we need a different strategy with regard to that than we may need for the strictly criminal or theft problem. And when we have a more sophisticated policy in this regard, I think we're going to be able to make more progress.
And also, just to briefly follow up on a question that Ms. Bonamici was talking about as far as developing new workers for the cybersecurity workforce. Are your companies seeing a workforce shortage? Do you see a lot of growth for the future in that? Yeah. Mr. Wood.
We do see an enormous shortfall of cybersecurity professionals. In the state of Virginia alone, the state government has announced that we've got about 17,000 unfilled cybersecurity professional positions just in the Commonwealth of Virginia. Sir, if I might go back to your other question, if you don't mind, about offensive. That's
All
a
right.
question that's very much near and dear to my heart. You know, if someone were to come in my house uninvited and either hurt my children or my wife or take my stuff, I have the right to defend myself. But if someone were to come into my corporate house and virtually take my stuff, whether it be intellectual property or customer data or whatever it might be, or financial information, whatever it might be, we need the ability to defend ourselves, particularly if we don't have if our cyber command is not going to fund itself in a way that gives us the comfort, the same way that we have the comfort, I think, as a nation from a standpoint of air, land, sea, and space. Thank you, sir.
And Madam Chair, I'm out of time, but I would like to plug our Congressional App Challenge and encourage all members to promote that in their district, because it does help develop a new workforce for cybersecurity and a lot of other areas.
Thank you, Mr. Westerman, and I will also join you in plugging that. I know it's on our website and our Facebook page, and I think that the date is January 15th when things are due, right? So,
Unless you extend it.